We are July 2nd, 2024. Good evening, my friends. Worldview Financial Report. My co-host, Michael Weiner and Wes Peters. What are we going to talk about tonight? Let's talk about this one here. Funding the government by the minute. What is that going to look like? We'll get into that. We'll show you. Very fascinating little video. How about this one right here? It now takes an annual income of $186,000 a year for Americans to feel financially secure. That's inflation. Central banks grew their gold reserves in 2023 as analysts see potential price surge. And then finally, UBS Global Wealth pushed gold as key haven this year. Joining me are the Bad News Bears, Wes Peters, Michael Weiner. Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Good evening, Brannon.
Good evening, Brannon. How are you?
I'm great. Great to have you guys with us. So what are you guys doing for the 4th of July? You got any special plans, Wes Peters?
I get to help a friend move from Whitman, Arizona. Very hot.
Okay, wait a minute.
Heber Obergard.
You're going to spend your 4th of July helping a friend move.
Correct.
Well, I guess you already did have your Reno and San Diego vacation. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get it done Friday. We're off Friday, so I'm going to help them move on Friday.
Okay.
It'll be a great time.
What are you doing on the 4th? You going to cook some hot dogs, watch some fireworks?
Oldest daughter is coming home from Colorado. She's getting her master's degree in Colorado. She's coming home, and I'm sure we'll be having a barbecue. I think the wife bought a couple tri-tips that I have to marinate tonight. And
the wife. Do you call her the wife? Is that what you call her, the wife?
The wife, my wife, the wife.
The wife? Uh-huh. I had a friend that grew up.
The boss.
I have a friend I grew up down the street from. He was newly married, and I was in high school, maybe junior high, high school. He was newly married, lives 2 doors down, had a wife, and he always referred to her as the wife, the wife, the wife. Never anything else other than the
Sometimes,
wife.
I met a new couple when we went to dinner, when Michael and I went to dinner Friday night. Met another couple, and I introduced her as my better half.
Yeah, well, that's go. Her name was Kathy, but he never used it. He hardly ever referred to her by it. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, so you're basically, sounds like having a pretty boring 4th of July, Wes. What about you, Michael? Can you make this story any better?
Well, I'll be going out for some hikes. I will be biking. I will be playing golf, reading some very good articles, and also be handling the planning for Wes for the rest of his trips this year.
Oh, really? Are you his what do you call it, travel agent?
Exactly. I handle all that.
I did not know this. See, now we're finding out he handles your travel affairs. You guys have date nights. I didn't realize you guys were like the odd couple. This is Alex and what was it? Oscar and Alex right here. Felix and Oscar. Sorry.
I complete Mike's sentences for him.
Do you? That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, you guys are special. You're a very special couple.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. My 4th of July will involve trying to keep the dogs from. The older dog doesn't care. The other two, the mini schnauzers, basically have a fit over fireworks. So you got to try to keep them, controlled and cool. Delta, she is shotgun trained as a hunting dog. Doesn't faze her one bit. She could sleep right through it. The other two, it's just pathetic. Sad. It's actually sad. What else? Probably do a little grilling out. Maybe play some Uno. Probably play some cornhole with Logan and his girlfriend. Logan and his girlfriend both, they beat me at every game we play. They beat me at Uno, they beat me at Yahtzee, they beat me at Cornhole, they beat me at yard bowling. You guys, we picked up some yard bowling, some pins, and you bowl in the yard. They beat me at every game there is, and they seem to thrive on beating me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So that'll be my weekend, is being humiliated. So there you go. We'll probably catch a 4th of July special. Oh, wait a minute. Speaking of which, there's a big 4th of July special on worldviewtube.com being released on July 3rd and played several times on the 4th of July. Big patriotic special we've been working on for a year. PBS has nothing on us. We have our own over here at worldviewtube.com, and we don't get $500 million literally from the federal government like PBS. We have to actually fund our own patriotic special. But so that we just finished that up. So I'm sure I'll watch that a few times because I was involved obviously in it, but I didn't do all the post editing. The boys in the control room. I turned that all over to them this year. I produced the thing and I arranged the songs, and then I went in the studio, recorded the songs. but I let them handle all the post-production. So I'll probably watch that just like everybody else for the first time. That's where I'll hopefully not catch a bunch of mistakes and need to be fixed in post-edit. But that's one of the things I'll do over the 4th is watch our own patriotic special. One year, I guess we need to get you here to the Mid-South to get you dressed up like George Washington, Mike. And
I was there. I already had the
I was going to say, you knew him quite well, so you could probably rehearse and dress up as George Washington and do a few speeches.
There you go. We all hung out together. What can I tell you? Ben was a big ladies' man. What can I tell you? He was a crazy guy. Biden was walking around lost on a ship somewhere. So.
Well, by the way, the word out now is he's not going anywhere. That he is. No? He is. Yeah, it's too late. It's too late. The ballots and all that. He's not going anywhere. So
I heard he got lost in the closet. I don't know.
This is going to be quite the fall. All right. Well, let's get to it. Here we go. Let's go with this first one you have for me here, and that is funding the government by the minute. Anything you want to say about this one before we let this one roll, Wes?
Well, again, Brannon, I like to go back in the archives. I say this is an oldie but a goodie. This is 2011, and I just want to compare 2011 to 2024 budget. So if we play this short video, it's very powerful to show just how bad things are, and then we'll take a look at where the numbers are for 2024.
All right.
Compared to
All right. Here we go.
In 2011, the federal government received a total of $2.2 trillion from all taxes, fees, and other revenue sources, and spent $3.8 trillion. To put the federal budget in perspective, let's see how long it takes the government to run out of money and how much the government needs to cut to make it through to the end of the year. Suppose that on January 1st, the government received its annual tax revenue of $2.2 trillion and began spending. $3.8 trillion in spending means that the government is spending at the rate of $434 million an hour, or more than $10 billion a day. With $2.2 trillion to spend, and spending at the rate of $434 million an hour, the government runs out of money at 11:59 p.m. on July 31st. To balance the budget, the government needs to cut 5 months' worth of spending. Let's look at some things the government might cut to see how much time they might save. Remember, we need to cut enough from the budget to fund the government from August through December. Some people argue that the government shouldn't be funding space missions when we have budget problems here on Earth that require our attention. So let's cut the entirety of NASA. That would save $20 billion, or enough to fund the government for about 2 days. Now we're getting somewhere. Suppose a new aircraft carrier costs $15 billion to build and lasts 40 years. That's about $400 million per year. If it costs another $400 million a year to operate, then cutting the aircraft carrier from the budget saves about $800 million a year, or enough to fund the government for about 90 minutes. That doesn't buy us much. How about if we cut the entire U.S. Navy? The 2011 Navy budget was $160 billion. Eliminating the entire Navy buys the government 15 days. We now have no space program and no Navy, and we still have 4.5 months of spending to cut. So let's get serious. If we cut the entire Department of Defense, including foreign military aid, foreign economic aid, and veteran services, we'll save a total of $930 billion, or enough to fund the government until October 30. Eliminating all federal funding for police, fire protection, and the courts and prisons saves $57 billion and takes us to November 4th. We now have no space program, no Navy, no Army, no Air Force, no Marines, no nuclear weapons, no defense research, no veteran services, no federal funding for police and fire protection, yet we still have to cut almost 2 months' worth of spending to balance the budget. Eliminating all federal funding for education saves us $140 billion. Cutting federal monies for transportation saves us another $100 billion. These cuts will allow the government to keep operating until November 27. With all these cuts, there's not much left for the government to do. So let's shut down Congress and the White House. That saves us $30 billion. And then we can shut down all the other things the government does, like waste management, street lighting, pollution abatement, housing development, cultural services, and other things. That will save us another $170 billion. This buys us an additional 19 days, funding the government until December 16. The only thing left that we haven't cut is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt. but we still haven't balanced the budget. In other words, we can reduce the federal government to nothing more than a glorified assisted living facility, and we still wouldn't be able to balance the budget. All of this suggests that our budget problems have gone beyond the need to talk about cuts. We need to completely rethink the appropriate role for government in society. We have made promises to retirees and veterans that we need to honor. However, we must stop making promises to future generations that mathematically it is impossible for us to keep.
Well, I like that, because if they would just let, the young generation like Logan and the guys in the control room take their money, stop charging them that Social Security tax, let them invest the money themselves, they would do far, far, far better, would they not, Wes?
Absolutely. And even if they mandated it, that we're going to take the money from you if you don't each year prove that you've invested this in some type of IRA or into something, that you've invested that money, you're right. People would be in a much better position than letting these knuckleheads in Washington, D.C. just, steal and pillage our money and put it towards a lot of things that we don't agree with, and all the waste and corruption. Absolutely.
In fact, let's go to a graph you provided us with, Michael, or Wes. Government spending, that was 2011. So now let's compare 2011 to 2024. You want to tell us about this? Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look, the tax revenue,
2.2 trillion, and now we got 5.29 trillion.
Yep. And
Now,
what's
let me
interesting,
ask you about that. Are we really that much more productive, or is this inflation?
inflation, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think, Michael?
But Mike?
I think they're spending more money on other things additionally. The biggest problem that we face as a nation is irresponsibility. The people
But that tax revenue that's coming in is coming from the people. Are the people in America have we almost, well, I guess it would be more than doubled. Have we more than doubled our income due to therefore the doubling of the tax payments? I mean, I don't think so. Have we? Have we since 2011? Or does it appear that because the salaries have to go up with inflation, so costs go up, salaries go up, although we know salaries are not keeping up with the cost of inflation, which is creating this stagflation. But obviously, if your salaries are going up because everything else is going up due to inflation, you would see an increase in tax revenue. But it doesn't mean you're living a better life. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Right. It's totally true. Again, you go back to how they treat it. The founders of the nation wanted small government. They didn't want big government. They wanted small government, let the states run things. We were fine until 1971 when we went off the gold standard. When we opened up the checkbook, that's when all this mess started, because they had no responsibility. They had no accountability. They couldn't account for the amount of money they spent against the amount of gold they had in Fort Knox, which they successfully have not audited since 1967. But the reality is their idea right now is to spend, write it, and pay debt, and it's deficit spending. That's all we do. We deficit spend, we borrow money from Social Security. If you actually look at the Social Security fund, they have to refund it consistently because they're constantly borrowing from it. It's just a bunch of irresponsibility. The only guy who actually showed any responsibility in the last 30 years was either, I hate to say it, Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan. The rest of them were just absolutely spending, and never stopping. No show of any responsibility. Bill Clinton had John Kasich, Newt Gingrich. He had a lot of people that were pushing him from the other side, and of course he had to try to position himself politically as well. But he listened at least. That was a positive. He listened.
Yeah.
These other people, they don't care. They only look at how they can move the ball down the road. They don't look at how they can sit back and solve the problem until we put somebody in there. Now, even Trump, when he was in office, had some spending issues, but he also had to refinance and rebuild the military and other areas that were falling down, while our Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, did a wonderful job. He was fantastic. He was really a good guy. And I think Trump is aware of the overspending that goes on and the amount of pork that's in the budget. It's amazing the amount of unnecessary. When you think about what they went on just now on TV, Brannon, think about after all that they took away and the only thing left for us was a wheelchair, where was all the money going? Who was getting it? Where was all the money going? That's the big question. Where was it going? Salaries, pork, states, where?
Yeah. Let's look at where it's the spending. We've got to keep moving here. 3.8 trillion in 2011 in spending. Now 2024, 6.9 trillion spent. 1.6 trillion budget deficit. Still 1.6 trillion budget deficit. Spending 10 billion a day in 2011. Spending 18.9 billion a day in 2024. Spending 434 million an hour in 2011. Spending 787 million. I guess you left out the million, but I'm guessing that's what it is. A million per hour. Ran out of money on July 31st, 2011. And I guess we're going to run out of money July 8th, 2024. NASA budget 20 billion. Then now 24.875 billion. Navy 160 billion. Now 255. DOD military aid, etc. 1 trillion. Well, it was 930 billion. Now 1 trillion. Department of Ed 68.3 billion. Today 79.1 billion, and on down the line. Look at that. Transportation. Pete Buttigieg, he has 270 billion to work with. They only had 279. So they added just almost 200 billion more, which of course we know that's got to be some kind of slush fund. There's got to be something going on with that infrastructure spending that's become a gigantic slush fund that they've increased by 200 billion, because our roads and bridges and airports certainly aren't in better condition, are they, Wes?
No, yeah, absolutely. A big slush fund, the old Build Back Better program, Obama supposedly had all these, shovel ready jobs ready to go. And we haven't seen the reflection of that even going all the way back to when Obama was in office. It is a big slush fund.
All right.
We're spending, look how much more we're spending on that than education. And there's a lot more wrong with our education other than just funding alone, but yeah, it's one great big racket. Again, it's never enough money. Our country continually has a spending problem. Until the American people says enough is enough and they control that spending, nothing's going to change.
It is a gigantic money laundering scam. I am more and more convinced it's a gigantic money laundering scam. Are you?
Look at all the unions involved in construction.
Yeah.
Lining these unions' pockets.
Yep. All right, let's go to this one right here. It now takes an annual income of $186,000 a year for Americans to feel secure, according to a stunning new survey that was just released. An annual income of at least $186,000 a year is required in order to feel financially secure in the United States today. Unfortunately, 6% of U.S. adults make that kind of money. Well, again, this is inflation. There was a video going viral. Logan, we can't play it. Let's use your audio and video for the first time, I think. Logan, there's a video you showed me of some young guy on social media that's going viral. Tell us what that video was. What was that all about?
It was let me take my headphones off because it's me talking in my ear. It was a guy who had the Walmart app, and he was looking at an old order he made of groceries like in 2022, and it was for a whole month for like 44 items, something like that, and it was $126 in 2022, and there's a button to click reorder. And when he clicked reorder today, the order that was $126 in 2022 was now $414.
So from 124 to over 400.
Yep. Almost quadrupled.
Yep. What do you make of that, Wes, or Michael Weiner?
Well, yeah, look at Janet Yellen. What I make of it is, again, when they talk about this 2% inflation, they also got to count in the 20% it already has gained. And that's 20% we know of. Some of these things have gained 100%. They don't talk about it. Now they just say we're going to get inflation down to 2%, but we're not going to get that other 20% back and more that we already lost. They don't care. Really, this administration is totally void of responsibility of fighting inflation. I think the Federal Reserve is absolutely a bunch of idiots because they just literally don't get it. They don't get it. And when you look at this, I've been saying consistently over the last few weeks, people that live paycheck to paycheck previously are just in poverty. The people who didn't live paycheck to paycheck are living to paycheck. And when you thought about making 150,000 or 100, let's say six-figure income, and you finally break it and you're making $115,000 a year, which is a nice income. It used to be. Now you're probably barely breaking even, if you are. And you know, the idea of having a household where one person works and the other person does not is almost literally impossible.
Yeah.
So this inflation situation, this responsibility of income, how do you sit back as somebody who's looking forward and saying, how can I have the American dream, when just to get there, can't make 100,000 or a six-figure income and get there. I've got to make 200,000. At this rate, 2 years from now, you'll have to make $250,000 a year to live comfortably. And that's not comfortably, just get by.
Yeah. All right. So let's do what I guess is really something we should have done. Let's go to see what the gold price was in 2011. Gold prices, historical annual data. The year it opened, year high, year low, year close. All right. Let's go with year close. 2011, the gold closed at 1574. Okay. 1574. And let's go to what it is now as of, well, right now we don't have the end of 2024, but so far the year low is 1992. I'm guessing year close right now is what it's at probably today. Is that about what it is today, guys? 23, 24?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2011 at its high, the year high, 2011 would have been 1896. The low would have been 1316, but it closed at 1574. Today it's at 2,324. So here's the question. Someone that put gold into their IRA in 2011, they'd be doing a lot better. They would have, let's see, what percentage, can one of you guys do the math on that real quick? What percentage would that have been an increase from 1574 to 2324? Any of you guys good enough to do that math quickly?
Percent.
Percent?
It's almost 35%, somewhere in that.
35%.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the interesting thing, Brannon, is, we tell people not to invest in gold and silver to make money. It's your insurance policy. It's your backup plan. And even with that said, people are going to make money. But obviously, if you look at where we are today compared to 2011, inflation has eaten up all those profits.
Right. And that's why you say don't invest in gold to make money, but to secure your purchasing power. Because as you say, although there would have been a 35% gain, look how much in 2011 things have gone up. We just saw from Logan that about 4 times it went up for that kid in that app who went back to the reorder. And that was just from what year? 2022 to 2024, Logan? What was that? 2022 to 2024? Wow. Well, this is 2011 to 2024. Right. So you really wouldn't see a great growth in your wealth because your income had gone up, but at least you're not going backwards. You're keeping up, hopefully, with the pace of inflation to a degree. You're not chewing up your principal, right?
Correct. It's about preservation. It's about balancing and preservation. And that issue has become more and more important right now because of the financial irresponsibility that we have gone back under. It's so bad. And when you look at what this administration's talking about, God forbid if they do win, I mean, literally, they're going to spend, raise taxes, sit back and destroy our country will have the highest business tax in the world, higher than China, higher than any other country. How could anybody grow anything in this country when they're literally being impaired by their own nation?
Yeah.
Trump's all about free enterprise. Without free enterprise, we would go nowhere. I mean, as Horatio Alger said, go west, young man. Back in the 1900s, early 1900s,
and you listened to him back then and ended up in Arizona.
There you go. He was a good friend of mine. We hung out too.
I know. You guys played golf together. Remember Y2K? Y2K. Everybody was telling you to buy gold because who knows what's going to happen. Okay. So let's say people would have bought gold in Y2K, and a bunch of people did, didn't they? A lot of people bought gold in Y2K, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. The average price of gold in the year 2000, it closed at $272, $272.65. You think anybody that bought gold in 2000s complaining today when it's at 23, 24, boys?
No. And I have a quick story to share, Brandon, that happened a number of years ago, not long after the 2008 crash. I was in the office meeting with a lady. She had $400,000, and she came in the office, decided she was going to invest $100,000 of that 400 into gold and silver. And we're in the conference room, and she's handing me the $100,000 check, and we're across the big conference room. So we're both leaning over, and I'm taking the check from her. And as I'm going to sit down, I hold the check up. I say, now, ma'am, I want you to pray that this $100,000 of gold is your worst performing investment. And as I'm going down, she's following me, trying to take the check back. And she's like, I'm handing you a check for $100,000. Why in the world would you say that? And I held the check up. I said, ma'am, you still have $300,000 in the stock market. If this is your best performing investment, how well do you think your $300,000 that's still in the stock market is doing? And she said, okay, well, since you put it that way, that makes more sense. I said, use those investments to grow your wealth, to make money, and this is your backup plan. This is plan B right here, your insurance policy. Mm-hmm. That's how people need to look at it.
And why people have all this money. I don't have a 401k. I never got one. I was like 19 or 20. A guy tried convincing me to do that, financial guide. I said, you're nuts. I would never do that. He thought I was nuts. He's like, why would you never do that? I said, I don't trust the government not to take it. Give me a paper IOU for this. I was like 19 or 20. I was reading Larry Burkett and other guys. And I said, plus I'm pretty sure I can invest in my own business, and do a lot better on return than some 401k that I have no control over or whatnot. So I didn't do it, but I'm happy I didn't. Why people though are sitting today with so much money in their 401k, understanding this environment, political, economic, militarily, geopolitical, why they're sitting there with all this money in their 401k, just trusting the system. I mean, haven't we seen what the system will do to us in 2020? That these people are corrupt, they don't follow the rules. Why more people aren't dumping at least a percentage of that money out of the 401k into gold is beyond me. But if they're interested in doing it, you can help them, right, Mike?
Well, sure, we can help them, but the reality is, and I've been in this long enough, actually. I've been around Brannon, for thousands of years. And at the end,
you're like Barry Manilow. I've been around for a million years, right?
My godson. Anyways, people from the inception of gold being available question it. And back when it first came available, gold was, almost $40 an ounce. And people would say, why should I buy gold? I could buy General Motors and make more money than owning gold. I get dividends, I get this, I get that. There's a greed factor. People forget why to own gold. They forget the security of gold. The banks and central banks of nations don't. And when we finally get to them, we're dealing with financial people on the other end, 9 times out of 10, that look at us as a threat. We're probably one of the only people that financial people don't have to worry about, because we're not telling them to take every dime away from these people.
Right.
Paying to balance their portfolio with us, not take every dime. And when you get a financial planner that pays attention to that, it's a pleasure, but it's rare.
Indeed, it is.
Feedback goes in, and then the people out there spend more time looking for that genius who's going to make them more money than securing what they have.
Good point. Look at this headline before we go. Central banks grew their gold reserves in 2023 as analysts see potential price surge. Well, of course they did. And USB Global Wealth pushed gold as key haven this year. If you're looking for a haven, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion, but these guys, they can talk to you. 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585. You don't even have to call them. You can just text Wes Peters at that number, say, send me that free, no obligation packet of information. They'll send it off in the mail. Happy 4th of July to you guys. Don't blow your hands off with those fireworks. Thanks for watching. Take care.